Tonight on Y News. Mall security beefs up as the holiday season begins. Malacañang is undaunted by the slight drop of President Rodrigo Duterte's public trust rating. Senator Leila De Lima welcomes charges of drug trafficking filed against her before the Department of Justice.
Senator Leila De Lima plans to file charges against President Rodrigo Duterte to test his immunity. The Department of Health aims for a 100% smoke-free environment before the year ends. And tech giant Samsung Electronics has announced a complete switch-off of its Galaxy Note 7 sales.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo, Castro III, and Gerry Alcantara.
Good evening. Department of Social Welfare and Development takes pride in its accomplishments for the first 100 days of the Duterte administration. Grace Casin tells us why.
As part of the first 100 days of the Duterte administration, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, says that one of its biggest accomplishments is the delivery of prompt and compassionate service to 9,476 stranded overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, in Saudi Arabia. The agency reports that it has provided psychological intervention to convince the OFWs to return home. It adds that the agency has also provided livelihood to the repatriated OFWs.
I think it is important to highlight that the first 100 days of the Duterte administration include the compassion that was absent sa previous administration vis-a-vis our stranded OFWs.
DSWD also allotted 1 billion pesos to fund the rehabilitation of 37,000 drug-dependent surrenders that will run for about 2 years. Moreover, President Rodrigo Duterte has also instructed the department to visit and give financial livelihood assistance and counseling to the families of wounded and deceased soldiers. Aside from this, the DSWD also plans to conduct a national kumustahan among 4Ps beneficiaries to monitor if they're properly using the government fund. Meanwhile, DSWD Secretary Judy Taguiwalo says that she has been receiving several complaints from the victims of Typhoon Yolanda, claiming that the relief goods did not reach them. The DSWD is now investigating these complaints, especially in the most affected areas.
Kasi gusto natin mabigyan yung wala pa talagang natatanggap.
The Secretary believes that the international humanitarian aid will not be affected despite some of the President's statements against international communities. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board will put a cap on the surge pricing imposed by the transport network company like Uber and Grab. Marnokson will tell us why.
The surge pricing on Uber and Grab will soon be capped by the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board. LTFRB Chairman Attorney Martin Delgra says they plan to implement the capping on surge pricing this coming holiday when the service is in demand.
Galing BGC, papuntang Quezon City dahil umulan, 1,000 ang price surge. It's so unreasonable.
Gab, who resides in Laguna, is a regular customer of Uber and Grab. He uses the service every day going to Makati City to attend to his businesses.
Hindi na yung magugulat ka na, oh, bakit 1,000 na yung papunta lang ako ng tatawid lang, tapos 1,000 yung sisingilin sa akin. Nakakaano siya, kumbaga makakabawas burden ba sa consumer.
The board is also revising rules on Transport Network Vehicle Service or TNVS. This includes the implementation of the kind of vehicles which are not allowed for the TNVS and stricter regulations on hiring drivers.
We cannot deny that there are complaints involving TNVS. No? As I've said, pending in the board are cases of a simple case of overcharging or even a case of arrogance of the driver, but even serious cases as sexual harassment, robbery, and rape.
The LTFRB points out that they have the right to regulate public utility vehicles because of their mandate to safeguard the welfare of the riding public. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Interagency Committee on Traffic, or IACT, will intensify its clearing operations in the 4 routes of Mabuhay lanes this holiday season. John Nano will tell us why.
The Interagency Committee on Traffic is gearing up in creating different mechanisms that will help ease traffic congestion in Metro Manila this coming holiday season. Apart from the expanded scope in suspension of window hours for all private vehicles that will pass along EDSA and other major roads, the IAC also intensifies its efforts in conducting clearing operations in 4 routes of Mabuhay lanes that are commonly used by the motorists coming from EDSA.
We reduce it into 4. Ibig sabihin, doon muna kami nagkakandak ng operations ngayon. Yun yung ginagawa nating clearing operations doon sa mga obstruction, yung mga naka-illegally park. Ina-identify natin yung kung meron mga illegal terminals dyan.
The interagency group led by the PNP Highway Patrol Group will guard 2 routes coming from North EDSA going to South area. This includes vehicles using Route 1 or those vehicles coming from West Avenue, Quezon City going to Mandaluyong Makati Bridge, and Route 2 that passes along from West Avenue until Dapitan, Manila. Same is true with Route 4 or vehicles coming from Quezon City going to Makati, and Route 7 or vehicles coming from Southern area going to North EDSA. In line with this, the IAC is also coordinating with the local traffic enforcers in local government offices that will help them in guarding these roads. This is to ensure that all illegally parked vehicles will be removed.
We can request the services of their barangay tanods so that kasi sila naman mga locals, they are from that area, na yung ating mga nakiklear ay babantayan nila, so that they can have their advice nila yung mga residents doon sa area nila.
The IA clarifies that car owners are still allowed to park their vehicles along the said roads only between 12 o'clock midnight and 5 o'clock in the morning. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The public is advised of some changes in security inside shopping malls in the coming days. Ray Palayo will tell us why.
The PNP Supervisory Office for Security Agency or SOSIA in the country has started implementing its Red Letter Days in September. It includes heightening security measures within mall premises, especially that holiday season is drawing near. Aside from the thorough inspection of bags at the entrance of every mall, security guards will also do profiling of everyone who enters the premises. Security guards who do rounds inside the mall will also have police bodies. Moreover, as part of the measure, SOSIA has ordered all security guards in the country to wear their uniform instead of barong.
Sinususpend namin yung issuance ng, sabi namin, special type of uniform. They are required to wear the prescribed security guard uniform as a deterrent sa would-be perpetrators ng theft, robbery, and other untoward incident. No?
SOSIA Director Police Senior Superintendent Mario Espino also says that they will conduct a surprise inspection in malls and hotels to check if security agencies are following their policies.
SOSIA and the Civil Security Group conduct post-inspection to all these establishments just to make sure they are really up to their security operational procedures, yung kanilang target hardening kung talagang ini-implement nila.
SOSIA wants to improve the skills of security guards to ensure that perpetrators of terrorism will not be able to get through, so anti-terrorism training will also be included in their curriculum. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Lawmakers in the lower house have started discussing the proposed law regarding the mandatory drug testing of all government employees and students in private and public schools. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The House Committee on Dangerous Drugs are now discussing the proposed bills on the mandatory drug testing of all government employees and for all the students. House Bills number 3191 and 3611 aim to have a conduct of mandatory annual test among all government agencies. And House Bill 3640 that seeks also for a mandatory drug testing among students in public and private secondary, college and vocational schools. Aim to amend some of the provisions of Republic Act No. 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. Some lawmakers, however, question the constitutionality of the mandatory drug testing for students.
At ang stigma sa bata na kapag siya ay na-found out na positive at hindi confidential ang naging result, malaking epekto niyan sa bata na talagang yung future niyan parang nakataya na doon.
What will happen kung ang estudyante po ay tested positive? The student will not be suspended or dismissed from the school. Instead, it shall be considered as the initial step to the rehabilitation process.
The Dangerous Drugs Board, on the other hand, supports the proposed bills given that they will be allocated with enough funding.
Specific funding should be provided.
According also to Secretary Reyes, on 2008, when the agency conducted random drug testing to chosen schools, they spent million pesos for the testing alone. The drug testing on Department of Health drug testing facilities is only worth 250 pesos per person, while on private testing laboratories, it costs 300 pesos. The committee plans to insert the budget for mandatory drug testing in the 2017 proposed national budget. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The province of Isabela is now under state of calamity. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Region 2 is the #1 corn producer in the country, which produces 1.86 million metric tons of corn. Aside from corn, the cost of the damage to the rice fields in the region is over 4 million pesos for the period of June to July 2016, wherein the most affected are the ones in the seedling stage. Because of this, the Department of Agriculture Regional Office has requested rehab assistance like seeds from the government to be able to help other provinces in the region that were affected by extreme drought. As a measure to mitigate the effects of dry spell in crops, the department urges the farmers to use drought-resilient variety of seeds and to plant legumes, beans, soybeans, and peanuts that do not require too much water.
Nag-conduct din tayo ng cloud seeding operation, pero ang karamihan na pinag-ulanan ay sa watershed areas, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, and Southern Isabela. Kaya marami rin tayong na-save doon.
At present, the province of Isabela is under a state of calamity to be able to use their calamity fund to assist the affected farmers. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
In line with that report, we would like to correct the figures we delivered yesterday, which mentioned that the amount of damage in corn is over 1 billion pesos and more than 3 billion pesos in rice. The proper figures are 1 million pesos total cost of damage in corn and 3 million pesos in rice in Region 2 for the period of June to July 2016. Motorists are experiencing moderate to heavy traffic from Manila to EDSA Quezon Avenue. Joanne Ano is in Delta Quezon Avenue to tell us why live. Good evening, Joanne.
Yes, good evening, Gerry. We are now right here in Delta Quezon Avenue to know the latest traffic update. And let's take a look at the latest traffic situation. Here in Delta Quezon Avenue, for those vehicles traveling along España, motorists will experience a moderate movement of vehicles. Moderate traffic will start from Roosevelt going to Araneta Avenue and Santo Domingo area. While for those who are passing along the eastbound area, for those vehicles exiting EDSA Quezon Avenue will experience heavy traffic as of this moment. Let's proceed with some of our live traffic points in EDSA Nepa Q-Mart. Vehicles traveling along the southbound area, for those who are coming from EDSA Quezon Avenue going to NEPA Q-Mart, motorists will experience light to moderate traffic as of this time. While for those who are in the northbound area, for those commuters going from coming from NEPA Q-Mart going to Muñoz will experience light to moderate traffic as well. Meanwhile, in EDSA Guadalupe, motorists and commuters coming from Guadalupe going to Shaw Boulevard will experience heavy traffic as of this moment. Slow movement of vehicles is also being experienced by those travelers coming from Orense going to Ayala, Makati. Let's take a look at the traffic situation in southern area of Metro Manila in Sucat Road, Parañaque City. Motorists going to Sucat Highway will experience heavy traffic, while moderate movement of vehicles will be experienced by the commuters on the opposite side of the road for those who are going to Ninoy Aquino International Airport. In Samson Road in Monumento, for those vehicles going to Sangandaan, Caloocan or C4 Navotas, motorists have nothing to worry because light traffic situation is being experienced in the area. Light traffic as well is being experienced by those motorists going to EDSA. Once again, Gerry, we would like to remind all the motorists out there that since tomorrow is October 12, the Interagency Committee on Traffic or IAC will begin the dry run for the implementation of no window hours policy, where encoding vehicles that will be caught by the traffic enforcers will be reminded by this new traffic scheme. The dry run schedule will last until Friday, October 14. The new policy will cover EDSA, C5 Road, Alabang Zapote Road, Rojas Boulevard, and in Mandaluyong City. While the full implementation of no window hours policy will begin on Monday, October 17. And that was the latest traffic update. Back to you, Gerry.
Thank you for that report. Joanna reporting live from Delta Quezon Avenue.
Next in Y News. Malacañang remains undaunted on the slight drop in President Rodrigo Duterte's public trust rating.
And Senator Leila De Lima plans to test President Rodrigo Duterte's immunity by filing charges against him.
Y News will be right back. President Rodrigo Duterte plans to come up with a television program that will feature complaints against corruption through the government TV station. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte reveals another way he thinks will eradicate corruption in the government. He says he wants to have a television program through the government TV station and receive complaints from the public against airing and corrupt government officials. The president made the statement when he led the oath-taking ceremony of newly appointed government officials as well as the officers of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines.
But I was tinkering with the idea coming in last night from Basilan and Zamboanga na i-open ko yung PTV4 for 1 hour each day. And diretso na lang sila. Lalabas na lang yung pangalan. Minus, if you want, kayo nagpapadala, the complainants or the aggrieved parties or whatever, the wrong, you can always escape your number. But if you want to do it publicly, fine with me.
President Duterte says this is a way to go fast simply against corruption, but the president is also certain it cannot be resolved totally.
If I could just get a fraction of the corruption sa ating gobyerno, mukhang okay na.
One of the promises President Duterte has made when he took his oath was to resolve the corruption in the government. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Malacañang remains confident despite the result of the latest social weather station survey. Aga Kaakbay tells us why.
The Malacañang is unfazed by the slight downgrade in the public trust rating of President Rodrigo Duterte, as revealed in the latest social weather station survey. According to the Presidential Communications Office, the trust of the Filipino people to the administration remains high, despite the 3-point drop. The administration explains that although the current 76% result is lower than the positive 79% rating in June, it is still categorized as excellent and is not an indication that the public's confidence on President Duterte has changed. According to the survey, 83% of the respondents says they still trust President Duterte. The 8% claim that their hopes have diminished, while 9% are still undecided on the issue. Particularly, the trust rating of President Duterte has declined in Luzon, to the Class E population, and to those who finished or did not finish elementary. Nevertheless, President Duterte still received higher rating as compared with the rating of former President Aquino, who only got positive 67% or very good rating in September 4 to 7, 2010. According to the Malacañang, the confidence being expressed by the people is an added boost to the Duterte administration to work harder in governing the country, particularly in eradicating illegal drugs, corruption, and in elevating the economy. Agak Agbay, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
President Rodrigo Duterte reacts to the psychopath statement of actress Agot Isidro against him. The president says it is the actress's constitutional rights to express her own opinion.
Isang artista sa akin na ano daw ako, psychopath. Well, I live here to her constitutional right to free expression. She should enjoy that.
Isidro tagged President Duterte as a psychopath on his tirades against the international community and his fearless stance on the possible withdrawal of international aid as a result of the administration's anti-drug war. Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio says protecting the country's sovereignty and territory is of the utmost importance as he spoke today in the closing ceremony of the U.S.-Philippines amphibious landing exercises. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
This year's Philippines-U.S. military amphibious landing exercise 2016 has formally closed with Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio as the guest speaker. In his speech, Justice Carpio tackles the issue of the South China Sea controversy, wherein he emphasized the importance of protecting our national sovereignty and territory. He specifically mentioned the Malampaya power plant, a vital installation which, if not protected, will endanger the country's energy security. He also stresses that the Philippines should protect its exclusive economic zone based on the Constitution.
So that they must know why they are willing to lay down their lives for, the reason why they will fight. What's the reason why they are fighting and why they're prepared to give up their lives for? Yes, because the Constitution says that the state shall protect its EEZ. So the only way to protect that is to send patrol ships there.
Nevertheless, he leaves the fate of the RP-US military exercises to President Rodrigo Duterte. Carpio also explains that the president's intention to ally with Russia and China is in the field of trade and investment.
The war games is a separate issue because that's a matter for the president to decide. But when it comes to the Constitution and national interest, it's very clear that the Constitution mandates and national interest requires that we protect our EEZ. We patrol our EEZ.
Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the U.S. 3rd Marine Expeditionary Brigade expressed their views on the importance of military trainings in strengthening the relationship between the two countries.
Consistency is the key. Every demeanor and endeavor, if we mean it to advance and develop, must be pursued with consistency. Even change itself needs to be consistent if it were meant to cast lasting effect.
that our two great nations have carefully evolved and matured over the past 70 years. I will leave you with a farewell salutation of Marines that seems today especially poignant. The Latin phrase, Semper Fidelis, always faithful.
Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana is confident that the Philippines' defense and security will remain strong even without military aid from the United States. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
The Department of National Defense, or DND, faces the Senate Committee on Finance today for the deliberation of its proposed $134 billion budget for next year. In the hearing, Senator Panfilo Lacson asked Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana on the impact of the country's national defense if the United States stops its military aid. Secretary Lorenzana says the country can survive without the help from America.
We will survive kasi okay naman yung ating ekonomiya, okay naman yung ating mga alliance sa paligid natin, ASEAN, we have alliances with ASEAN, we are friendly with China, we have trade with China. China kasi is one of our biggest trading partners now.
Senator Lacson, however, believes otherwise. He says there could be a shortage in our military equipment once we can no longer purchase from the United States.
In terms of equipage, kasi yung armed forces natin, nasanay na tayo na American made yung mga gamit, since as far as we can remember, yun lang sa replacement parts. Pag biglang hindi na tayo maka-purchase ng replacement parts from the US, ano mangyayari doon sa mga equipment natin, sa mga war material natin, like yung ships, yung aircraft, mahirapan tayo.
The senator also says President Rodrigo Duterte should rethink his plan to purchase firearms from China due to the possible conflict of interest.
How do we treat now yung problema natin, yung issue sa West Philippine Sea? Dahil nandyan sila, unless i-honor nila yung arbitral ruling at ipaubaya sa atin yung lahat ng nando sa West Philippine Sea, yung mga pinag-aawayang islands doon.
Senator Panfilo Lacson is hoping that the president will listen to the recommendations of his political advisors, particularly on issues pertaining to international relations. He says the Philippines still needs alliances to strong countries for the sake of our national security.
At the very least, sana wag tayong mang-away, dahil may kasabihan nga tayo, no man is an island. Lalo ngayon, the globe is becoming smaller and smaller because of modern technology. Tapos ang kailangan natin talaga allies. We need not quarrel with China, but we need not quarrel with the United States also, pati yung European Union.
Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Edgar Matobato's counsel expresses his dismay over the court's decision to deny their motion and raise the bail bond from 2,000 to 60,000 pesos. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Judge Silverio Mandalupe of the Municipal Trial Court Branch 3 in Davao City has denied the motion of accused Edgar Matobato, asking the court to withdraw the warrant of arrest against him and allow him temporary liberty based on a previous bail bond. In his ruling, Judge Mandalupe did not heed to the request of the defense and, on the other hand, granted the appeal of the prosecution to raise the amount of the bail bond. From 2,000, it now costs 60,000 pesos.
Based on DOJ Circular Number 89, dated August 22, 2000, na ang illegal possession of firearms, ang maximum penalty is 6 years. So, under the circular, DOJ Circular, posting as a recommended bail, each year is 10,000 pesos. So, if you will multiply 10,000 pesos to 6 years, 60,000 pesos na. So that's why i-amend ang order.
However, Attorney Sabio stresses that the move to raise the amount of the bond was to harass his client Matobato. He says the real motive that lies behind it is to force his client to go to Davao and be the target of liquidation. Sabio says they plan to file a motion for reconsideration. Also, part of their option is to ask the court to lower the bail bond. Meanwhile, according to Sabio, coordinations will be made to bring Matobato to Davao City to post bail. Matobato is now in the custody of the PNP in Camp Crame. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Charges for drug trafficking were filed before the Department of Justice against Senator Leila De Lima and 7 others. However, the former Justice Secretary welcomes these. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Senator Leila De Lima is now facing charges for drug trafficking in relation to the illegal drugs trade inside the New Bilibid prison. The complaint was filed today before the Department of Justice by the group Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption. Also named as respondents are former Justice Undersecretary Francisco Baraan III, former Bucor Director Franklin Bucayo, and his alleged bagman Wilfredo Eli, Jonel Sanchez, Ronnie Dayan, Jose Adrian Dera, and high-profile inmate J.B. Sebastian. The complaint is based on the testimonies of several inmates before the House inquiry that Sebastian instructed them to sell drugs for the Lima senatorial campaign.
Ang VACC po, after last night's almost completion of the hearing ng House Committee, decided na we have enough proof against the former Secretary of Justice.
VACC claims De Lima and other respondents conspired with one another to perpetuate illegal drugs trade in the Bilibid. They also accused De Lima of using her authority as former Justice Secretary to control the sale of drugs inside the National Penitentiary. They further alleged that De Lima had every motive to engage in drug trade because they believe her expenses in political ads is way higher than the 86 million pesos she declared.
It seems ganun po nangyayari. Drug money ang ginamit sa kanyang eleksyon.
De Lima, however, welcomes the filing of charges.
So mas gusto ko po yan na finally meron na mga kaso kaysa naman yung ganyan na mga constant pagpipilori nila sa akin dyan sa House inquiry na yan.
Jimenez admits the complaint still lacks the necessary documents and DOJ will have to fill for this gap.
Ang ating pong pakiusap sa kanila, kumpletuhin na po nila ito. And I'm pretty sure siguro papadala din nila to sa ombudsman, pero at least kumpiyansa po kami na makukumpleto po ito, including mga material evidences.
Pero ang pinakatanong ko, bakit sa DOJ nila ifa-file? Ano ho bang maaasahan kong hustisya dyan sa DOJ na yung isa sa mga pangunahin na mga gumagawa ng mga peking ebidensya na yan ay yung mismong DOJ Secretary.
Other inmates who admitted to selling drugs were not included in the complaint, but Jimenez says they are filing supplemental complaint to include them in the charges. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Senator Leila De Lima plans to file cases against President Rodrigo Duterte and other government officials. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte's immunity from suit is not absolute. This is what Senator Leila De Lima will prove in a test case that she will file against the chief executive in relation to his continuous harassment against her. De Lima has been constantly accused by the president for receiving illegal money from drug operations inside the New Bilibid prison for her senatorial campaign. The lady senator says she will file writ of amparo and writ of habeas data before the Supreme Court against Duterte. These, she says, are extraordinary remedies for gross violations of right to life, security, and privacy.
Naniniwala po ako na hindi lahat ng bagay, hindi lahat ng mga kaso na pwede na isasampa sa isang incumbent president ay bawal. I just have to demonstrate that he has grossly abused his powers and prerogatives as the president in vilifying somebody, in insulting, in offending somebody, and utilizing the resources of government, the whole state apparatus, in harassing, in persecuting me.
Aside from the president, the lady senator is also mulling over filing graft charges before the ombudsman against officials who allegedly orchestrated the fabrication of evidence against her. She might also file cases on violation of Code of Conduct of Public Officials, prohibition, disbarment, and civil action for damages.
Kasama din sa Secretary Aguirre dyan. Hindi ko pa maisasabi because it's being prepared. And so we will know as soon as ready na for filing.
Since these cases will require massive legal work, the senator says she might file these cases next week. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Distressed overseas Filipino workers in Dubai benefit from the free medical mission, international call service, relief goods and air tickets brought by UNTV's Serbisyong Kasangbahay and its partners in public service. Jun Soria will tell us why.
Almost 50 distressed overseas Filipino workers under the custody of the Philippine Consulate in Dubai have benefited from the free medical mission of UNTV's program, Serbisyong Kasangbahay, together with the Medical City and a group of pharmacies. Most of them are victims of illegal recruitment.
At nagpapasalamat din po ako sa Medical City at saka sa UNTV kasi nagbigay sila ng medical mission dito at nalaman ko po yung sakit ko na meron po ako ng fatty liver. So, ngayon po, nabigyan niya ako ng gamot at salamat po dahil meron akong iiniming gamot kasi masyado talaga masakit yung fatty liver ko.
Aside from the free medical assistance and medicines, UNTV has also provided them some relief goods and free call service to communicate with their loved ones in the Philippines. Moreover, about 15 of them were given free air tickets to return to the country and be with their families. The OFWs, as well as the station's partners in public service, are thankful for the opportunity.
Nagpapasalamat po kami sa UNTV at sa Filipino healthcare professionals and of course to O2 Pharmacy for always being there and lending your hand in extending the blessings sa ating mga kababayan at sa mga less privileged na kasamahan natin dito sa Polo OWA.
Healthcare is our main concern. It is regardless of the community, whether it is Filipino, whether it is Indian, whether it is Pakistani, because we are all, overseas here and we are all contributing the nation.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Consulate in Dubai strongly believes that through UNTV's program Serbisyong Kasangbahay, more distressed OFWs as well as those in other countries can be helped.
In cooperation and collaboration with UNTV, we're looking forward to more events and more projects together. Hindi lang ho dito, siguro gagawin natin sa isang mas malaking lugar kung saan tayo pwede kumuha ng mas maraming tao. At maybe aside from that, magkakaroon pa tayo ng mga film showings at all for the benefit of our kababayans here in Dubai para ma-uplift ho yung mga spirits nila, para malaman ho nila na ang government at ang media at ang private sector ay nagtutulong-tulong para matulungan ho yung mga gustong yung mga nangangailangan ng tulong.
Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Coming up, the Department of Health aims for a 100% smoke-free environment before the year ends.
And tech giant Samsung Electronics announces a complete switch-off of its Galaxy Note 7 sale.
More from Y News after this break. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAG-ASA, is now monitoring a low-pressure area, or LPA, in the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or PAR. As of 4 p.m. today, the LPA was located at 900 kilometers east of Surigao City. It is embedded along the Intertropical Convergence Zone affecting Palawan, Visayas, and Mindanao. Based on PAG-ASA's forecast, light to moderate rains will experience in the regions of Eastern Visayas, Zambo Peninsula, Davao, Caraga, and provinces of Basilan and Sulu. Isolated rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. The LPA is more likely to develop into a tropical cyclone within 24 to 72 hours and may affect the country by weekend. Russia and Turkey sign a deal to build Turk Stream gas pipeline while authorities in the hurricane-hit Haiti are concerned over security. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
In Haiti, authorities expressed concern over security in the areas devastated by Hurricane Matthew as aid started to arrive, specifically in the hard-hit city of Gerry. Heavily armed MINUSTA troops from the United Nations guarded boxes of medical supplies, food and water to be distributed. As the death toll from the storm rose to 1,000 people and threats of cholera spread in affected areas, representatives from international aid organizations have started monitoring the situation. In South Korea, South Korea says it would use greater force, including firearms, against Chinese boats fishing illegally in its waters after a Chinese vessel sank a South Korean Coast Guard boat during a confrontation last week. Earlier today, the South Korean Foreign Ministry summons Chinese ambassador to Seoul to protest the incident. One of South Korea patrol boats sank last week during an operation to crack down a group of Chinese vessels fishing illegally off the Korean peninsula. No injuries were reported from the incident. And in Turkey,
В этой связи хотел бы обратить ваше внимание на то, что сегодня правительство Российской Федерации приняло решение допустить на российский рынок целую группу турецких товаров. Это товары сельхозпроизводства, косточковые так называемые, и цитрусовые продукты.
Russian President Vladimir Putin signed an agreement with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the so-called Turkish Stream project that intends to deliver Russian gas to Turkey and European markets through the Black Sea.
Türkiye-Rusya arasındaki normalleşme sürecinin hızla devam edeceğine olan inancım tamdır.
President Putin also said Moscow has decided to lift a ban on some food products from Turkey, and both had agreed to work toward full-scale normalization of bilateral ties. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Department of Health expects a 100% smoke-free environment this year. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Office of the President has already received the draft executive order submitted by the Department of Health on nationwide smoking ban. According to DOH Secretary Pauline Ginobial, the legal team of the President is now studying the draft EO. The health official also states that said EO has a wider scope to make the Philippines 100% smoke-free.
Kasama dito 100% smoke-free environment in all public places.
The EO was created because of the marching order of the President, which aims to adopt the anti-smoking policy of Davao City.
Hindi pwede sa indoor. Halimbawa, yung sa airport, merong kwarto ron na naninigay. Hindi na pwede yung ganon. O kaya sa mall, may isang kwarto ron na lahat doon bumubugan ng usok. Hindi na pwede yun.
Once implemented, smoking will not be banned in indoor public places but outdoors as well. The Department of Health is confident that the said executive order will be implemented as soon as possible. More importantly, it aids to solve health problems, wherein Philippines is one of the countries with a high rate of deaths due to secondhand smoking. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Golfers wonder if Tiger Woods will ever make a comeback. Meanwhile, a man sues FIFA on Qatar's 2022 World Cup. Aaron Romero tells us why.
A lawsuit is filed against the Federación Internacional de Fútbol Association, or FIFA, for allegedly failing to use its influence to ensure that workers for the 2022 World Cup facilities in Qatar are treated fairly. FIFA did not immediately respond to a request for a comment on the case. A Qatar government spokesman had no immediate comment on the matter. In golf, some former golfers have raised questions on Tiger Woods' decision to postpone his tournament golf comeback, wondering if Woods will ever successfully return to regular competitions. Woods was scheduled to play at the PGA Tour event in Napa, California, starting Thursday after a 14-month break due to back surgeries. Meanwhile, France beat the Netherlands in their World Cup qualifying match 1-0. The victory at the Amsterdam Arena elevated the Euro 2016 runners-up to finish top of Group A and qualify for the finals in Russia in 2018.
Je pense que notre victoire est méritée. Évidemment, on a mieux maîtrisé la première mi-temps, mais paradoxalement, on a eu plus d'occasions de marquer en deuxième mi-temps. C'est dommage qu'on n'ait pas mis ce deuxième but parce qu'on n'est pas à l'abri et à la fin, heureusement, Hugo fait cet arrêt qui nous permet de garder la victoire. Donc,
Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
The Malacañang Kamao will once again prove it is the team to beat this season of the UNTV Cup. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
The Malacañang Kamao gears up for its upcoming match against the Bureau of Fire Protection or VFP firefighters as they both sit in Group A's #1 spot in the UNTV Cup Season 5. Both teams have a clean 2-0 win-loss record. Sunday's match gave the Malacañang Kamao an improved team standing after beating the Senate Defenders 82-54.
Well, Mitra fires a long three. Yes!
Games and Amusement Board Chairman Abraham Mitra was among those who contributed to the team's victory, coinciding with his debut on the UNTV Cup hardcourt. Former Palawan Governor Baham Mitra is the youngest child of former House Speaker Ramon Mitra Jr. Just this August, he has been appointed on his post by President Rodrigo Duterte. Chairman Mitra considers being a part of the one and only League of Public Servants in the country as a good experience.
Maganda po at nagkakaroon ng working outside of the halls of Congress or the halls of Malacañang.
Chairman Mitra is also impressed with Kuya Daniel Razon's concept of the UNTV Cup.
Tsaka mga katulong din sa public service.
The first ball game between the Malacañang Kamao and the VFP firefighters is set on October 23 at the Pasig City Sports Center. Bernard Dadis for UNTV Cup Season 5.
Tech giant Samsung Electronics is scrambling to contain a deepening recall crisis. Eric Ferrer will tell us why.
Samsung Electronics has announced to its customers today, October 11, to stop using their Galaxy Note 7 smartphones while it investigates reports of fires in the devices. Top US and Australian carriers on Monday suspended sales or exchanges of the flagship Note 7S, while major airlines reiterated bans on passengers using the phones, after smoke from a replacement device forced the evacuation of a passenger plane in the United States last week. The world's top smartphone maker says it had asked all global carriers to stop sales of the Note 7S and the exchange of original devices for replacements, while it is working with regulators to investigate the problem. Samsung's decision to pull Note 7S off the shelves for the second time in 2 months underscores the South Korean firm's struggles to fix the overheating issue. The premium device launched in August was supposed to compete with Apple Incorporated's latest iPhone for supremacy in the smartphone market. But within weeks of the launch, images of charred Note 7S began appearing on social media, in the first sign that something was seriously amiss with the gadget.
이번 노트 7 폭발로 인해서 판매 중단한 이 사건에 대해서는 아무리 새로운 제품이 이제 출시된다 하더라도 브랜드 이미지가 이제 정상적으로 회복되기엔 조금 어렵지 않을까 생각합니다.
저도 이 제품을 구매를 하려고 했었고 삼성을 대표하는 어떤 플래그십 모델이었는데 완성도가 좀 미흡하다 보니까 이런 부분이 구매 예정자로서 많이 좀 아쉽고요. 사실 부족한 부분을 빨리 보완을 해서 다시 좀 출시가 재개됐으면 하는 바람이 있습니다.
Samsung has since recalled 2.5 million Note 7S due to faulty batteries, and the latest reports of fires in replacement devices is raising fresh doubts about the firm's quality control procedures. The Korean Agency for Technology and Standards also advises consumers should stop using Note 7 and said it would work with Samsung on future steps. Eric Ferrer, UNTV News and Rescue, South Korea.
As top human athletes battle for medals in the Tokyo Olympics, their android counterparts will also be battling in a fierce competition in Japan in 2020. Danny Texon will tell us why.
The Robot Olympics are coming to Japan in 2020 for the World Robot Summit. Japan's Trade Ministry is hosting the event which will feature competitions and exhibits involving a variety of machines, including humanoid and industrial robots. The government said it hopes to draw high-tech robots from around the globe for the 2020 summit. Tokyo will host the 2020 Summer Olympics starting late July that year, followed by the Paralympics. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has previously revealed the government's plans to create a task force that would help develop Japan's robot industry and to triple the size of the market for the machines. In recent years, Japan has used robots to fill jobs as kitchen workers and farmers in a bid to address labor shortages that are projected to get worse as the country rapidly ages.
Sa mga restaurant po, sila na po yung nagsaserve po ng mga pagkain sa mga customers. Sila na rin po yung naglilinis sa mga CR. Yung mga robot po na kung saan sila na rin po yung nagtatanim at iba't ibang mga bagong technology na naiisip ng Japan sa paggamit ng robot.
Japan, one of the world leaders in robotics, recently unveiled a chatty humanoid robot that its makers say can understand people's emotions.
The exact date and location of the event has yet to be determined, with the ministry now inviting bids from cities across Japan, which is famed for its robot technology. Danny Tizon, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan.
Pumpkins dubbed Hillary Clinton and Donald Trumpkin are on display in Florida. Ruth De Mesa will tell us why.
A whimsical jack-o'-lantern called the Undecided Voter won the annual Keys Underwater Pumpkin Carving Contest took place on Sunday, October 9th, a nod to the presidential election which takes place in less than a month. Artists of all ages surrounded by fish and coral reef gathered on the seafloor, 30 feet above the surface to carve and accessorize their pumpkins. Jana Vandelar and her daughter Jacqueline of Key Largo, Florida, were responsible for the winning entry. Their undecided voter pumpkin featured large, bulging eyes, outstretched hands, and had a screwdriver plunged into the side of it. It also included a sign that read, "We're screwed," a commentary perhaps on the election, which is 29 days away. Participating divers were challenged to keep the pumpkins from floating away while they carved their works of art. Amid other carved pumpkins were two with rubber masks portraying Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton and Republican nominee Donald Trump. The pumpkins were dubbed Hillary Clinton and Donald Trumpkin. The second was staged by the Amoray Resort and took place in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary amid the second presidential debate. Ruth De Mesa, UNTV News and Rescue, Florida, USA.
Those are the reasons behind the news. October 11, 2016, among Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
Because we need to know. We will always ask why. Thank you for watching. Why News.